I have been a fan of Bridgerton since season one came out a long time ago. And of course, I had to watch season four, but I've never actually talked about Bridgerton here on the podcast. So I figured I would begin talking about it since I've been talking about TV shows more and more. So here is my season four of Bridgerton review. So like many people that have watched the show from the beginning, I feel like we've kind of seen the show at like its best and kind of at its worst. Season one was obviously amazing, perfection. Season two is actually my favorite. I absolutely adored getting to know Anthony and Kate. And then season three happened, and I felt like I was more invested in the potential that the actors were in a relationship more so than their characters were in a relationship. There was something different about it. Didn't feel like the regular show. In fact, I don't think I watched it immediately when it came out. I think I took my time on that one. I was just less invested, like I said, more invested in the actors themselves. And obviously we know they're not in a relationship. They just sold it pretty well. So that's pretty much all I cared about. Going into season four, though, I feel like I didn't even realize we were going to get a season four until they posted their little trailer post Stranger Things. It came very quickly. I was not anticipating it. I've also read some of the books. I've only read the books of the seasons that have come out. I purposefully wanted to watch the show's version first before reading the books. But I have really enjoyed the books. I do know where certain plot lines are going. Just in my research of books. So it is bittersweet to watch different storylines play out, knowing where they are going to end up, just based on the summary that the books give us on the back covers. But so far, season four feels the closest to how seasons one and two felt. I have been kind of on the edge of my seat. The romance is really fun. The almost like Romeo and Juliet, Cinderella-esque nature of it has been really fun for me. Way more fun than the simple friends to lovers to I have a secret identity plotline that they did last season. So here are my thoughts. Today's the day that part two comes out. I have not watched the episodes yet. I'm going to as soon as I'm done finishing this part of the video. So here are all my thoughts on part one's drop. So like I said, I haven't read the book. I don't know how the story will end. But to start off with Sophie and Benedict, it will be a happy ending, just because that's how these books go. It's always a happy ending. The couples always find a way to end up together. But I was thinking, like, how would Benedict be able to be with Sophie Beck, our female main lead? How would he end up being with her? Because he's stated, she's a maid and I have to marry within my own class. Like, how is that going to work? And I think back to other like iterations of Cinderella where it's like, yeah, she's a maid, but her father has like a really nice house, and she has like a fairy godmother that gives her like the pretty dresses and the finery, and she's able to fall into that princess role when the prince falls in love with her. So here's my theory as to why Benedict would be able to be with her and not lose any social standing. Is that Sophie actually was put in the will. I think it was episode 2 when we get more backstory on who Sophie's dad is. So it's stated that she was born like outside of marriage. Father was like a nobleman, Lord Penwood, and he had relations with a maid, and that means that she's like illegitimate. And so without her dad being around to be like, yeah, this is my kin, because he does pass away later on, she's basically left with like no social standing. And her stepmother, Araminta, now Lady Penwood, is like, yeah, your father didn't like leave you in the will. So like, I'm going to do you a favor and like bring you on as like a maid. But that's like the most that I'll do. And I immediately hated that conversation. There was something wrong with that conversation to me. I think Araminta is lying. I think she was included in the will. I don't know if I would go to say that he left everything to Sophie. But just on this, like like small interactions that Sophie and her dad had, that implies to me that she was left something, and was given a title. It'd be great if she was given everything and that Araminta like lost everything. That'd be kind of crazy. But I definitely think Sophie was in the will. And I think that social standing and like the revelation of the social standing will be enough to allow Benedict to marry her and not have like society be all classist. I mean, he himself is classist, but I think society will have a better reaction to him because there will be some sort of revelation, most likely in the last episode of part 2 is what I'm theorizing. So that's my big theory going into part 2. I will say too, I don't quite understand why he thought she would be interested in becoming his mistress. I don't know if he's really bad at picking things up. But this is like the first time he's had like a really solid, genuine connection with someone. And it wasn't like, yeah, they've shared like some kisses, some touches and whatnot, but it wasn't ever more than that. I feel like the relationship started without sex being part of the equation. So why would he assume that she'd be interested in entering into only a sexual relationship when, to me, it's pretty apparent that they have an amazing friendship that could easily then be translated to being like a husband and wife relationship. Like, I don't know. I mean, men are oblivious. So that's not the most surprising thing ever, but it's just like, I can totally, as soon as he asked the question, I could just see Sophie's face fall. And she's like, wow. Like, I can almost interpret it as like, wow, like he's interpreted everything wrong. Or I've interpreted everything wrong. Like, this is just all he sees as like capable. Like, he couldn't love me. Which is sad. Like, she already doesn't feel like worthy of him because of her social standing. And so the fact that it almost kind of felt reiterated, like he would only ever want something like physical with you. He wouldn't go the extra mile and try to be with you or break through social standing to be with you. Like, it was almost like that was like cemented. And it makes more sense like why in the trailer for part 2 she's like, I don't want to talk to you. Because yeah, like it's heartbreaking. Like, you think you have a genuine connection with someone and you let yourself hope, and then they say something like that. Like, yeah, no, I want him to grovel a little bit. Going on to the other couples, because there are other couples that we focus on here. Like I said, I know the book orders. I have not read the later books, but I do kind of know where Francesca and John's relationship will end up, which is why I'm really sad. I'm not going to say anything, but I've been sad for a while since last season when we got to see them together. So it makes me sad. It makes me wonder how they're going to address it, especially since there is another character. I think they call the character Michaela, but it's a gender bent thing. In the books, it's actually a Michael, I believe. So they changed the gender. That's John's cousin, so Francesca's husband's cousin. That's another person that's a big part of Francesca's story. But as of right now, she's more like she freezes when she's in the presence of Michaela and not able to speak. So yeah, knowing where it's gonna end up makes me really sad. But I think they're one of the only other couples that I really enjoy, like, breaking away from the main plot to watch. I think they're really sweet with each other. It makes complete sense that they have a healthy marriage because of how swoon worthy the romance between them, like, and sweet the romance was between them in season 3, like the way that he, courted her and really got to know her and her interests. Like, it really felt like the perfect match. So it makes complete sense that their marriage is really sweet and loving, and it just makes me sad knowing where everything's gonna end up. But I won't say anymore. I will also say I have always liked Violet Bridgerton, the matriarch of the house. I've always liked her storyline. I especially liked it in Queen Charlotte. I think that's when I really saw her shine, like seeing all the background. So I have really enjoyed that. And I like how she's finding love again after her husband's death. Because I did like the math, like her husband died when her youngest son wasn't even born yet.
Correction. He died when their youngest daughter, Hyacinth, was not yet born. That was a mistake.
Like she was like pretty far along, but she wasn't giving birth yet, if I remember correctly, something like that. And so it's been what, like 12, 13, 15 years since she's like had a relationship with a man. So I'm glad that she's like allowing herself to find love again and to, be happy. Like, she doesn't have to necessarily just be a widow the rest of her life. So I'm really happy for her, and I like the guy that she picked a lot. I think they're really cute together. I will say the last couple that we really get to see relatively frequently is Penelope and Colin. They're okay. I think it's just because I didn't like season 3 could have been more fun and better. And I know for a fact that Whistledown's identity wasn't revealed yet, because I know that they switched the order of the books in the TV show, because technically Benedict's story comes before Colin's. So I think the switching of that allowed for some fun stuff, like playing with Whistledown's identity. But I think also it just makes me not care about Penelope and Colin really at all. They're just kind of mid. They're just kind of there. They're just happy lovers who had a child and now are gallivanting around London doing God knows what. So yeah, I just don't really care about them much anymore. It doesn't hit. I think it would be way more fun, especially in this setting, knowing that like when Benedict and Sophie first meet at a masquerade ball, it was like, ooh, like he disappeared with a woman dressed in silver for like half the party. Who is she? Like that could have been fun for Whistledown to put the pressure and to publicly be like, I wonder who he was with, versus what we get in this show. But yeah. I will also say the Mondrick storyline, that couple, I'm looking at my notes, so I'm looking down. They are weaker. I think we had some great stuff in the earlier seasons, like their movement into wealth and prosperity. But they don't have enough screen time for me to really connect, especially with everything that's happening with like Lady Danbury and potentially being a lady in waiting. It's all weaker. There's not enough screen time for me to be invested in any of that. And I don't know. I just, my brain like checks out when they're on the screen. Which is sad because, like I said, like I enjoyed getting to see their evolution in earlier seasons, but now it's just like, like I don't know how they all relate to the epic Cinderella plotline we have going on here. So yeah, I don't know. But those are my thoughts going into part 2. I will now watch it and I will come back to let you know what I think of how they ended everything. I'm on the second to last episode and I am unable to stop crying. Let's end this. So it is now the next day. I took the rest of the night to go over everything. It was really, really good, but also really, really sad. So yeah, major spoiler warning for everybody who has not seen part 2 yet. Please go watch that before you watch this half of the video. So without further ado, let's go right into it. So I was taking notes like during the show. So I'm going to kind of go over it point by point. So I know I mentioned that I didn't really care about the Mondriches. Well, I'm glad that they had some development in this. I was really happy that someone was there to tell Benedict that he's stupid. He really needed someone to do that. I actually wrote down the quote that he said, "How can a woman trust you to navigate a complicated life with her when she cannot trust you to even navigate her feelings?" That's such a great quote. I love that. But yeah, no, someone needed to put him in his place about the whole "be my mistress" thing because that was rude. And yeah, he needed to hear it from a guy of being like, "You should have never said that to her." I've actually learned that in the books he was more intent on the whole mistress thing than love. So now we'll see how I feel about the book. But at least in the show, I knew and other people could tell that there was more to his feelings. He had like genuine feelings. So I'm happy someone put him in his place. There was a lot of tension in I think it was the first 2 episodes. Maybe even just the second episode of part 2 between Michaela and Francesca. And I definitely, like I said, like I kind of I know where, at least in the books, they are headed. I don't know if they're going to do that like in the actual show. But there's definitely there was this weird jealousy thing happening, and I couldn't quite tell if it was jealousy over like John's attention, or if there was just like this heavy dislike that Francesca had towards Michaela. I couldn't really tell. I just feel like a lot of it was on Francesca and her dislike, whereas like Michaela was just sort of like indifferent to her. Obviously, if they end up becoming a couple, it could be her, like Francesca, not wanting to have feelings, or not wanting to find her attractive. Like it could be in that realm. But obviously, like we don't know where they're headed. I really did find it awesome how they like became friends in a way. Like it's not 100% perfect, but they did grow more of a bond, and I'm glad that John got to see it. We'll talk about that plot line in a sec. I I definitely, as we were getting into the episodes, I was like, okay, yeah, something's definitely wrong with the stepmother Araminta. And there's got to be something with the will. Like, and I said that in part 1. There's got to be something with the will. There's got to be something that dad didn't tell Sophie. And so what I found was really interesting was that it was said that the title of Lord Penwood went to a cousin. So the cousin took over all of the wealth from Sophie's dad when he died. And he allowed Araminta and her daughters to stay and live at one of the houses. But when he remarried, he basically kicked them out and sent them to a rental house that was coincidentally right next door to the Bridgertons. So I'm like, okay, yeah, so Araminta doesn't have the money or the status anymore, and there's got to be something that she's lying about more than just that, because I doubt the cousin would be so lenient. I don't know. We barely saw this cousin. But yeah, I knew immediately, like, yeah, something's wrong. There's money being moved around in a way that I don't think anyone knows. And also just the reiteration of the fact that Sophie never got paid for her job as a maid. Like, she was almost like a indentured servant. And so, like, yeah, like, you're not paying her for a distinct reason. Um, and it was definitely sad seeing her, like, feel like that's what she deserved. Like, she, like, just deserved to be in this state of servitude, like, the rest of her life. Like, I found that, like, really sad, going into that. But I did find the maid wars very interesting in this episode. It was really satisfying to know that because Sophie left the control of Araminta, like, she had to hire, like, what was it, like 20, 30 people to do what Sophie could do on her own. Like, I found that, like, incredible, and how, like, everyone would just end up quitting or get dismissed in a moment's notice. And I just thought that was, like, insane that, like, Sophie was the only one who could handle it, but it was just because she was, like, conditioned young to allow that behavior. And so, yeah, I find it was very justifying that it took the whole ton basically to work for Araminta, and then for all of them to realize, yeah, no, whoever that maid was, I'm glad she left because you're awful. Let me see what else I wrote. So I didn't really care much. I still don't really care much about Penelope or Colin in this season. But what I am happy about is that the whistle down stuff has now moved on. I could tell already that she wasn't exactly thrilled that everyone was, like, lining up to tell her all of their secrets. Like, please, can you publish this? Like, oh, actually, don't publish that. I definitely think her realizing, like, this isn't fun anymore, that, like, the people's lives are held within whatever she writes. Like, she could destroy someone or raise someone up with, like, a sentence. And that's more than what she ever wanted. I could tell from that. And I'm glad that, like, eventually she was able to stop being whistled down. I do appreciate that. I am happy that they didn't fully get rid of it, though. Like, in the last episode, we find out that, like, someone else is whistled down now. Like, someone has taken over the title. But I am happy that, like, she's able to be free from that. I do also wonder, I don't know if this is, like, a thing that's, like, established in the books or not, but she did say she's writing a novel. It'd be really interesting to know if the books are what she's writing. I don't know if anyone's ever confirmed that. I could just be theorizing like crazy, but it would be really cool if, like, she's the one who's writing the books, and that's the book that she's writing, like, in the show. I don't know. I thought that'd be cool. Oh, continuing on with the Featheringtons, I did find Varley and Lady Featherington's friendship to be kind of bizarre. I mean, honestly, okay, this whole entire part 2 seemed to be, like, these are female friendships. Like, these are what's the most important thing that can get you through any challenges that come your way. It's the first female friendship that we got to really, like, break down, is how Varley and Lady Featherington are friends at the end of the day. Like, yeah, she doesn't actually, like, treat her 100%. Like, she could pay her more and whatnot, and I think she does, like, take advantage of her in some way, because at the end of the day, like, Varley is not a member of the family, but it's so clear how much Lady Featherington, like, misses Varley, and Varley on the other side is like, I want to gossip with you, I want to be mean with you. Like, they're very much like, we hate the same people together. Like, that is their friendship to me. And so I'm really happy that they, like, reconciled their differences. I thought that was really great. I loved that. Another female friendship that we kind of chronicle is with Eloise. She not only is becoming more closer with her sister, she's being closer with other people like that she's like meeting or reuniting with. I think there's definitely a very interesting arc that happened with Eloise, and going into like how, yeah, marriage isn't for her. She hasn't exactly changed her mind on that, but she can see why someone would want to get married. She understands why someone would value that. And she begins to genuinely like root for people. I think with Francesca, she was able to really see like the depths of which you could love someone, because she's heard about like her mother and father's relationship and how loving and cherished it was. But I think seeing, John and Francesca relationship in their arc, which I'll talk about next, I think that really put into perspective how beautiful love can be, and how, yes, it is tragic when one person passes away, but at the end of the day, like, it's very much worth it to still embark on that quest. And maybe she won't do it now, but maybe later on, because she still wants a sense of independence. Like maybe later on she could allow herself to fall in love with someone. And I'm really happy that she was able to reconcile with Hyacinth, her younger sister. Because Hyacinth is still very much like, I want love and romance and joy and one up. And then upon seeing what Francesca went through, it's like, oh, actually, I'd rather not, because everyone's just going to die and I don't want to deal with that. And so Eloise is the person who goes to her and is like, hey, like, it's hard, but it doesn't make it less worth it. Like she's finally getting it. She's being more of a girl's girl, and she can see those benefits of marriage that everyone around her talks about and obsesses over, but she never quite understood until now. So I'm really excited to see where it goes. I did see someone say that I think in season 3 she was reading Emma, which I've never read Emma, but the way that the person described it is like Emma's like the matchmaker for everybody, but never like has somebody on her own, but then she goes on to fall in love. And so that's what they think Eloise's story is going to be. And I would love that for her, honestly. I'd love her to feel like this sense of like independence and really find herself, and then to end up with someone, not because she feels obligated to be with them, but because they allow her to be like her true, authentic self. I think that'd be really beautiful. So yeah, going into Francesca, these are the moments in which I was sobbing. I was sobbing for almost the entire episode. I think it was episode 7. And I was just not okay. I think I actually legitimately gave myself a headache from how hard I was crying through the latter half of part 2. So yeah, again, spoiler alert, Francesca's husband dies suddenly. They call it a headache. In modern day terms, it could have been anything. I mean, he was very stressed. He was having trouble sleeping. He was actively like in parliament. So it could have been anything, like a heart attack, stroke, aneurysm, like anything that was sudden. Like he basically was like, I'm going to go take a nap because I feel tired, and wake me up for dinner. And then he's dead. Like she finds him dead. And like I said, I knew this was happening, but seeing her go through that was not what I wanted. It wasn't what I wanted for this season, just because I was like, let me enjoy their romance a little bit longer, please. Can we do that, please? But apparently that was too much to ask for. And then seeing her not only deal with like that grief of like losing your husband after they weren't even married for like 2 years, or maybe only like 3. I don't even know how long the timeline is, but they were not married long at all. They were still in like this semblance of like happiness. We got the whole future ahead of us, and then no more. So not only was that really hard, but also like in part 1, she talked a lot about how like, why have we not had a child yet? Like, why am I not getting pregnant? Like, what's wrong with me? And he kept trying to reassure her, like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like, we have plenty of time to figure it out. Like, it's probably just something out of our control right now, and we'll find a solution for it. But she took all of that personally. She felt like it was her wifely duty to give him a child, and that was her purpose. And in a sense, like, yeah, that is what society at the time tells you, but it wasn't exactly anything that her mother or sisters told her. It was like just something that she had in her head, like, I have to give him a child. And she was trying really hard to figure out why she wasn't able to give him one. And so I think realizing that, like, he's dead and I never got pregnant, like, that scene, that moment where she's telling her mother, like, your husband may have died, but you had 8 children, 8 pieces of him to remember him by, and she has nothing, absolutely nothing. Like, that, I think, was the moment where I, like, completely broke down in hysterical sobs. I was not okay. It was really sad, especially as someone who wants to have children one day. That broke my heart so much. And I really hope, even if season 5 isn't with her as, like, the main character, I really want her to have healing. And I know people, like I said, like, I know, at least in the book wise, where she ends up with Michael, who's now Michaela. But I'm really hoping that perhaps they are more friends and that they can have this friendship, and reconciling that. I mean, I know she still wants to have a child, but I also want her to heal. I want her to grieve him, like her husband, fully, and grieve the life she could have had with him fully before, rushing into the next relationship. So we'll see where it goes. But my heart goes out to her. I love her character. I didn't want it to happen so soon, but it did. And I'm just hoping that if her story is the next one that we see, that they do it right. Because I really want her to have an amazing season. So moving on, I think the last bits of my notes are all just talking about Sophie and Benedict. So we will end it there. So Sophie and Benedict obviously go through many, many ups and downs. It kind of reminded me, in a High School Musical, how they kept breaking up and then getting back together, like every movie. It kind of felt like that, where there's this moment where they're, like, intimate with each other, and then they're like, one of them is always like, no, that was a mistake. We can't ever do that again. And then it'll go back to being like, but I'm in love with you. And I want to be with you. But you're a maid, and society tells me I cannot be with you. There's just so many, like, interesting back and forths that happen. There was a moment in which she was like, yeah, I'm not going to work at Bridgerton House anymore, because I can't afford to, like, be around you. And Benedict just started crying. I also started crying again. Like, how dare you? Like, when he cried, I cried, because I can't handle when people cry on TV, apparently. So yeah, when he started crying, I started crying, because that was a really hard conversation, because it was, like, so clear that, like, he desperately wanted things to somehow change, that he could be with her and that he wouldn't lose his family as a result, which, like, is so interesting to think about. Like, that's how, like, society was. Like, if you were with someone of a lower class, like, you'd basically be sacrificing your family, and you couldn't be around them. You couldn't have, like, relationships with them. And if people in the ton in society, like, found out that you were still in contact with someone that was with someone of lower rank, like, your marriage prospects became non-existent. Like, you were shunned from different society functions. Like, the fact that was, like, genuinely a thing absolutely boggles my mind. And in a way, I'm happy that people continuously reminded him of that. But it was also like, but, like, I want to be with her, but, like, I love her. Like, what do you want me to do here? Like, that's not fair. It's not fair. That's, like, how it felt with his character. And it was pining and yearning for love in the best way, I feel like. Like, the whole, like, we're from two different worlds, we can't be together type thing. That really hooked me in this season. And so then we get to like the final reveal with them, where Sophie is basically forced to find out, what did my father's will say, because Araminta has her arrested for the shoe clip thing, despite the fact that they're fake. Okay, they are complete fakes, and she didn't steal them. Posey gave her the shoe clips, but Araminta's still bitter about the shoe clips, about everything, honestly, about Sophie's existence, basically, that she's like, okay, I'm going to have her arrested, and it's a crime that can get her life in prison for like stealing from her employer. I'm going to have her arrested for life and basically get rid of her. And she keeps justifying it by like, oh, like our prospects will be lower if people know that like Sophie is like connected to us. And it was just like, no, not at all. The reason that she's so mad is because she didn't want Sophie to find out about the will, and to feel like she has like a legitimate claim. So basically, like, it's revealed that Araminta was getting paid, I believe it was like £4,000 a year, I think. I don't remember. Every year that she kept Sophie on and allowed her to live with her, she got paid for it. And that's why she kept her around for so long. And then there was a dowry. Like, Sophie had a dowry. Her father gave equal portion dowries to all three children, despite the fact that he only was biologically related to Sophie. He was not biologically related to Araminta's children, but he still gave them the same exact priced dowry. And it's revealed that Araminta basically stole the dowry and spent all of it, probably by this point. And then also gave her two children different priced dowries, depending on, like, she considered one daughter more valuable than the other, so she gave her like a higher priced dowry, which did give her a fiance, but that fiance immediately left the moment he realized that like the dowry had to be lowered. I think it was like £36,000 for one daughter and then £18,000 for the other, which is like insane to put a price on the head of your children. But that also was pretty common back then. So it was very interesting. It was so amazing watching Violet like come in, Mrs. Bridgerton herself, and be like, you took this girl's dowry. You had her arrested for a pathetic crime of shoe clips. And she also has watched Sophie work within her home for months at this point. So she knows Sophie's character. And Violet was like, I'm not having this. You are going to tell the queen that Sophie is your cousin, or is Lord Penwood your late husband's cousin's child, and that she's legitimate. Because I can't stand this, because stealing a dowry is a bigger crime. And should they like show the will, she'd be arrested for longer, most likely have to pay the money back, like that sort of thing. Like, she'd be ruined. And so, yeah, I found Violet's like protectiveness of her to be really genuine. Like, it wasn't just because Benedict was in love with Sophie. She also genuinely was like, I like this girl. Like, she's really nice. Like, and she kept trying to be like, I need to find out her parentage. Cause like, what if she can't be a part of the family? Like, she like picked her out. It was like, I like you. I want you to be my daughter-in-law. Like, that was the energy that Violet had. And so, yeah, I loved that. I loved like their genuine caring for one another. And she was always so gentle with Sophie, even though it was clear like Sophie was hiding stuff and going through a lot of like emotional turmoil, but she never questioned Sophie further. She always went back to Benedict being like, what are you doing to that poor girl? You either leave her alone or you find out how you're going to be with her. Like, that was her energy the whole time. And so, yeah, I loved that friendship in the show. I did also forget, I don't even think I wrote it down, but Violet's relationship, it made me sad, but I I can kind of understand why it didn't 100% work out. Violet, as I've said before, lost her husband a long time ago. And yeah, she still remembers him, but she's at a point now where it's like she wants to have romance and whatnot again. And so she ends up having a relationship, an affair with Lady Danbury's brother. And at first they're like really sweet and they're intense. There's some scenes in the show showing their relationship, and you know, I could definitely tell there was a lot of like back and forth with her of like, oh, like I don't want the children to know. Like, how about we keep things a secret? How about we just not tell anybody? And it seemed like for a while he was like, all right, like doing that, like doing what would make her comfortable. But I think definitely it got to the point at the end where it's like, I want to be with you. I'd be willing to marry you. But I don't think you feel the same. Like like they were engaged for like a hot minute. But Violet just like, she just wasn't able to do it. She wasn't able to fully allow herself to commit again to another person. It's not because she wanted to explore more per se. It's just like she said to herself, like she has been in the role of wife and mother forever, it felt like, and she's only just now remembering who she was before she became those roles. Like she does deep down want to still have that independence and to like find herself again outside of those roles, and she does genuinely feel like love for Marcus. I could tell that very clearly. But she was just so hesitant. She just couldn't allow herself to fully dive in. And I can't blame her for that. I just wish she recognized that a little earlier. And I do feel really bad for Marcus because I know he really did truly want to marry her and be with her. He also has lost a wife. And he was ready to move on and remarry again. And I think it's very heartbreaking that like she was just not able to be in that same position. Because I think he genuinely would have enjoyed having that life with her. Maybe they'll reconcile. But also I don't feel like that's where her story would continue, because she was just so unable to take that next step. I don't think her story will continue to the point where she'll remarry, which is sad because I really like them together. But it makes me curious where Violet's going to go next, now that almost all of the older children are married now. And it's just the final two that haven't been debuted to society. Well, one that hasn't been debuted to society. The other one's a boy, so he doesn't get a debut. But it's like those two final children that are young enough, but will be on the marriage mart soon enough. Like, I think when she has that quote unquote empty nest is maybe when she'll reconsider. But yeah, so those are all my thoughts. I loved this season so much. This was a major step up from season 3. I absolutely adored everything that was happening. I sobbed, I laughed, I was just so deeply invested in the story this season. I watched all 4 episodes, one after the other. I really hope season 5 will be good. I've seen people say that it's going to be Eloise's season. Like I said, it could be Francesca's. But I don't know. I don't remember the order of the books. I would assume Eloise would be after this, but I do also know like they switched the order, so they might switch the order again. We shall see. I will read the book. I do have it, so I'll probably go read the book, maybe even now. I don't know. For season 4. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. It was very fun breaking down season 4 of Bridgerton and getting to talk about it. I hope you all enjoyed Bridgerton season 4 as well. I think it was such a better season than last year's, because I don't remember last year's like at all. I just remember taking like a month to watch it. So this is very different for me. I feel just as giddy as when I watched like seasons 1 and 2. Thank you all for watching and listening, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching this episode.
You can follow us on all social media as NCOT the Podcast, and additionally, you can find us on YouTube and TikTok as That Film Couple for vlogs and extra content. You can also follow me on Instagram as sebi.mp4 and on Twitch as sebasparra1k.
And you can follow me at caitlin.mp4 on Instagram as well.
My name is Sebastian.
And my name is Caitlin.
And this is
And cut!